Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. This past week, in a decision that had surprised some, the South Carolina Supreme Court threw out Richard Alexander Murdaugh's 2 convictions of the unalivings of his wife and son following a jury trial. We are going to be going over the decision rendered by the Supreme Court to get to the whys behind what's happened here, the unanimous decision that this case needed to be reversed and remanded to the lower tribunal for a new trial. The first 2 pages of the decision are up today on our community page, YouTube channel. The link is included in the description to this podcast episode. What the Supreme Court has said in an overview section that appears at the top of page number 2 gives the background. It states here, for 6 weeks in early 2023, the eyes of the nation focused on Colleton County, where the state prosecuted notorious former attorney Richard Alexander Murdaugh for the unalivings of his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. Both the state and Murdaugh's defense skillfully presented their cases to the jury as the trial court deftly presided over the complicated and high-profile matter. However, their efforts were in vain because Colleton County Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill placed her fingers on the scales of justice, thereby denying Murdaugh his right to a fair trial by an impartial jury. Our justice system provides, indeed demands, that every person is entitled to a fair trial, which includes an impartial jury untainted by external forces bent on influencing the jury toward a biased verdict. Although we are aware of the time, money, and effort expended for this lengthy trial, we have no choice but to reverse the denial of Murdaugh's motion for a new trial due to Hill's improper external influences on the jury and remand for a new trial. Because we order a new trial on this basis, it is not necessary that we review every evidentiary issue Murdaugh raises on appeal from his conviction. However, we address the admissibility of Murdaugh's financial crimes to offer guidance on this thorny issue to the trial court on remand. And the next section goes into the factual and procedural background. The factual section will get into what the Supreme Court found that the jurors understood regarding Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill's statements that were overheard by them. Secondly, it's going to go over this thorny issue of the financial crimes. Murdaugh raised the issue that this information should not have been brought into the jury. It was too prejudicial. So we're going to learn here that the Supreme Court is going to address the admissibility of Murdaugh's financial crimes to which he has been convicted and is serving out long prison sentences for them, as the Supreme Court states here, to offer guidance on this thorny issue to the trial court on remand. Finally, we note here that the Supreme Court has made it clear that this was a high-profile case with the eyes of many on this case to point out the importance that every defendant receives due process of law, which is guaranteed by the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution at the Due Process Clause, which states that anyone who is charged with a crime must be provided with, at a minimum, 3 things: notice of what's been charged, an opportunity to be heard, and impartiality by the trier of fact. Here it was the jury. Please join us for our next presentation, where we will go into the facts and the procedural posture. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.